And I'm Nicole.
Welcome to the Scoop. We have a very special guest today. This is Devon. We're very excited to have you, Devon. Honestly, I've been waiting since we started this to get some interviews and things like that and get inside your brain to hear what you have to say about autism and just in general, kind of we've had some, side conversations about some of the things going on with autism and, autistic adults.
Yeah,
So I'm
we had a couple conversations.
we have. So I'm excited to kind of talk a little bit more about that. And yeah, so let's get started. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Okay, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself? What's your name? Like, who are you? What do you like to do? Those kind of things.
Hello, my name is Devon. I am 21 years old since last year. I work at Sonnenberg. I do my own animated projects. What else? I do too much stuff. It's hard to keep track with.
Well, what's your favorite thing to do?
Probably animating my own projects.
That's awesome. And didn't you say you have something coming up here pretty soon with a book or with what are you
Oh
doing?
yes, yes, the
I
book.
would
I
love to
forgot.
hear about that.
Yeah, the book. Well, technically there's two, but the physical version's being worked on. So the first two books that I wrote are a part of a new series based off a character a character I created in my childhood named Gorilla Man. So funny enough, Gorilla Man was actually created, I'd say around back when I was in ABA therapy.
And when was that?
Um, It was when we were in the previous building,
Okay.
Kenosha,
So how old do you think you started ABA at
when I was like two, almost
two?
going to be three at that point. I had to say I was maybe, if I think about it, maybe eight or nine, I would say.
Okay. So you're probably 8 or 9. That's when the character developed, right?
Yes, that's when I created the character for the first time.
And how'd you create that character and what did that character mean to you?
Um, So at the time, I watched a few superhero cartoons. Gorilla Man at first was my version of the character of Batman.
Oh,
Basically, I'd say pretty much everything's the same with Batman. Like, he was rich. He had these nice gadgets. What else? The original version, Gorilla Man was me. I know it sounds really weird.
it's
But
great.
as time progressed, I made Gorilla Man into his own character with his own name um, over the years.
That's so interesting. So you said it was you at first.
Yes, it was originally me at first. That Gorilla Man was my secret identity in the original version, like the very square one version. I'd say I think it was 2018 where I finally created a whole new character with that name.
So
Then
why was it
then it's
you?
least confusing to people. It's like, wait,
Well, I
why are you
think it's
writing about
great.
yourself? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I think it's interesting, actually. I think it's cool because did you just do that based off of just imitating, you said Batman, right? So
Yes,
Batman?
the original
Okay.
Batman was based off of Batman. Um, and I'd say for the most part, it somewhat still is. A lot has changed over the years since then. Like, for example, one of the things I think it was 2015, which the comic version establishes this too. I made it canon that there were multiple gorilla men before the one that's in the story right now.
Oh, okay.
Specifically 46 of them, or 45 before that one.
Okay. So is there anything, I guess what I'm kind of curious about is you said it was you at first, right? And you shifted over. Was there significance or some reason why it was you? Were you wanting like this other guy, like what does that mean? Like that's so cool. I'm curious if that meant anything, for you.
It might have been just because I really liked watching superhero cartoons
Okay.
at the time. I know one of them was Batman Brave and the Bold. That was the Batman show that I grew up with, or Batman Beyond.
Okay.
It's like a futuristic Batman.
Okay. Well,
Um,
that's really cool.
yeah, it started off, it was even the same age. The character was even in the same age that I was when I wrote the character until my therapist is like, maybe you should make him a teenager. So I stuck with that for the source material because she was right. That makes more sense.
Yeah. So this is what you're doing now and you're publishing. It's done though, and you're publishing it. Is
The
that correct?
digital versions, yes. We're still
Okay.
figuring out the paperback version. The paperback versions being a real pain.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah.
certain formatting things that we need to finish.
Well, that's amazing. I always thought that was very cool and a good outlet for you for it to be creative and all of that good stuff, right? So,
Right.
yeah. So, okay, so that tells us a little bit about you as far as what your interests are. I think you said at the beginning, well, you did say you work for Sonnenberg and what do you do at Sonnenberg?
I basically do the ABA stuff, like working with clients on the spectrum, kind of like how it was for me when I was younger.
That's pretty amazing. You have a totally different perspective than like me or Nicole. Can you tell us about that perspective? Like, what do you think? Like, how do you see that? Like, what's your kind of perspective of, do you see that differently? Because I don't understand that piece. I haven't been on both sides. So like, what would you say about that? I'm really curious.
I'd say, um, in that perspective, I'm one of the things I do is be calm and patient with the clients because I do have memories of a few of my staff or teachers being really impatient with me because it took really hard to learn certain things because I was at first a very slow learner, still somewhat am.
Different, different learner. Um, but yes. Okay. So when you were, I mean, I remember, I could say my perspective because obviously I met you when you were two, and I remember everything, but I'm curious, how far back do you remember, like ABA or people coming in and working with you or doing different things? Like, do you remember a specific, maybe not the age? I don't know. What, like,
Um,
I'm curious about that.
there's a lot that I don't remember, but I do remember a few memories when when me and my family used to live with our uncle and aunt.
Mhm.
Um, I had a few staff there.
Yep.
I remember those memories.
Do you remember playing and like what like I guess I'm just so curious what sticks out in your head. You said people being impatient. So that's a really good uh perspective and kind of an you know what I mean? Like guys, like just that's helpful for me, that's helpful for staff to hear that. Is the patience and the calmness and the understanding as much as you can, right? Because you
Right.
knew that and you knew the difference, it sounds like, is that what you're saying? Between
Yeah.
patient
Yeah.
and
That's
staff
what I'm
that were.
saying.
Yeah. So that's what an amazing perspective that is for you, is to know that and bring that, into what you do. with the clients and the therapy that you do. So that's amazing. What do you think helped you um in therapy and to help you become whatever it is that you think was positive as an adult?
Think lots of work on skills and how to live life was a big thing because as a young kid, it did take me a while to learn some things. Like we had to work like on budgeting, cleaning, um, what else?
What about like self-care or routines, like things at home, like just every day?
Yeah, routines, that was a thing, still somewhat is. According to my mom, apparently when we used to live with my uncle and aunt, I had a whole routine with bringing laundry downstairs because when I used to live with my uncle and aunt, in their bathroom, they have a laundry chute. And apparently, what it sounded like what I would do was gather my clothes, go to the bathroom, place them down, which I actually might have vivid memories of now thinking about it.
Yeah. Am I freezing?
Yeah, you're freezing. There we go.
I can hear you, but I'm like, you guys are freezing, so it's probably me. I actually do remember that too. So that's really fascinating. So as all those things kind of piggybacked, right? Because that's kind of how ABA works. It kind of is, builds and builds on as you get older. As an adult, what's something that you um I guess you kind of said like work on now or kind of focus on now, but what are some things that if you were to tell other people that are going, as an adult, what are some things that are really important now, or things that you learned in the past or you wish you would have learned in the past that would be helpful now? Because it's just so interesting to hear about, I guess, the past, but also now. Because, right, like I work on things every day. There's things that like I reflect. We do a lot of reflection of like, oh, could I have handled that differently? Or what did I do really well? Like, what are some things like that that you could help either ABA therapists or just other autistic adults?
I'd say be calm with them because if you're not calm with them, that energy is going to feed back into the clients, which could, depending on the client you're working with, cause a behavior. It's as one of our supervisors says, if you're going to nag them, they're going to aggress.
They're going to nag back,
Mhm.
right? They're going to go back at you. They're going to pick up that energy and give it right back to you, and probably even more. Because, so would you say that that's true with anybody? Or is it a certain kind of, like, what would you say about that? With any kind of client, or from your perspective?
I'd say both. I would say both on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's Nicole, do you have anything you want to add to that piece of it? As far as I think it's just really great to hear from somebody that knows both perspectives, for our staff, for our families. What do you think?
Yeah. Um, you work in our adult population with a lot of different individuals.
Right.
Are there individuals that are more challenging for you to work with, or?
There are a few that are a bit challenging to work with. I'd say I can only work with a specific amount of adults, which is we've discussed before.
Mhm.
There's some that I think would be tricky for me.
Yeah, why do you think that would be?
I'd say I can only do like a certain level.
Okay.
Um, the ones that I'd say I work with the most are like the low functioning, I'm pretty sure is the right term
Okay.
for it.
Yeah.
I do have a few high functioning clients that I've worked with before.
Yeah. How do you feel like it helps you? Because a lot of the clients in that program that you primarily work with are nonverbal or use like AAC devices to communicate. How is your experience with like an ABA helpful to teach communication?
Um, I'd say that happened when I first started with Sonnenberg because I've seen people with
AAC devices?
yes, the
Yeah.
HD devices, but didn't really know how to do it. I'd say when I worked on with my first client who had one of those, they basically explained to me how to do it, and I'd say it picked up from there.
Yeah, awesome. What's your favorite part about working with those clients?
Um, I'd say the laughs is definitely one of them. There are a lot of laughs in the room.
That's awesome.
They can be very fun people to work with,
Yeah,
and then some aren't, but
yeah,
it depends which client it is.
okay, yeah. So you were talking earlier about like your artistic ability and some books that you've created and characters that you've created. Have you found any clients here that you could share some of that with?
No, I have not.
Okay.
It'd probably be a good thing to do, but I try to keep my hobbies outside work because I know if I do that, I'm probably going to get distracted. That might be easier once there's a physical version, so then I don't get in trouble for like bringing my tablet in with the book. Say, hey,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to be doing that. Get off your desk. You're supposed to be working.
You're a very good rule follower.
Devon, that is so true. And you know yourself. Like that's what I think is so cool is that what you just said, this is my perspective, but like you said, I'll be distracted because that's one of the things is a big interest for you, right? So like if you start looking at that or doing that, you're gonna whoop,
Even a
go
few
to that.
moments where I'm thinking of a character or a story in my head and I completely zone out in my own world.
Yeah.
Actually, at home, that's definitely got me in trouble at home a few times from like chores. It's like, hey, you're supposed to be doing this. This is not
Well,
the zone.
that's what's amazing, I think, is you are a rule follower. You are very like know yourself. So like, yep, I probably shouldn't do that at this point. And that's what I think is amazing about and why you've been so successful with ABA is because you're very good at like this is too much for me, or this is great, or I need a second, or whatever it may be. And it's might have taken time. I don't know how that's all because I'm not in the tracks with you. But there's times I know you've said I need a break, or they've said you need a break, right?
Yeah, the stressful
When
moment.
something gets, yep. And I can tell you, there's a lot of people, anyone that has a difficult time with that for many different reasons. So that's something that I think you've been really successful with. And do you think ABA has helped with that to be able to regulate, what you need or don't need, or where does that piece come from? Because that's a big piece with anyone, right?
I think it was mostly the APA that I got as a kid, basically learning the process of breaks and
Oh,
being calm.
so being calm and knowing, okay, it's time to have downtime or take a little bit of a break to come back. I didn't think about it that way.
It might also be parenting as
100%. Yeah.
um I
Can
think
you talk about that?
and my the parenting in my life because there's a lot of things that I learned from my mom.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's a big, big area, don't you think, Nicole? Like the involvement of caretakers, parents, and how important that is to be working together, which of course Marie is your mom, and she's also a BCBA
Yes.
and has been, with Sonnenberg for I can't remember, 21 years, I think is what it is. So she's one of, what'd you say?
I think you are right. I think it's been that amount.
Yep. So it's been a huge collaboration, she also sees many different perspectives, which has been wonderful. And I think I would love to hear a little bit about that, because I think we have parents that watch, or parents that could be feeling all sorts of ways, right? And I think it's really important from a perspective. I know I have a perspective, Nicole has a perspective, of how important that is for parent involvement. What do you have to say about that?
For that, I'd say be involved with them in the process of ABA, because if the parents don't do it, the clients are going to pick up at that. It does kind of get frustrating when you're working on a program that the staff are working on, but the parents aren't working on. And my mom's told me a few times that after a therapy session, she would do some ABA with me after that, so I could learn the skills.
And it wasn't just coming from us, right? Or the team.
Right.
It was also because it's an environmental thing, right? We all have got to be working on the same thing or similar things, so it doesn't splinter. And there's one thing at home, one thing at the clinic or wherever we're working, or it's just plain confusing. That's really difficult. So I think that that's a big part of your success for sure, is there was a lot of collaboration, and what was needed, because there was lots of different environments we worked in at that time. So
Yeah.
that was really important. You need a lot of people in your life, so that we all had to be working together and supporting each other. So I think that's a major thing, as we move forward, because ABA isn't a magic pill, is it? It's something that we're all doing
Yeah,
together.
if you do the process right, and also I think if you do it at an early enough age, it
Helpful.
it does help a lot.
For sure. But it can be at any age. I think it's just much helpful the earlier. Obviously, we have data to support that.
Much harder when it's at an older age.
Yeah, it's definitely, well, and the funding and everything decreases too. So yeah, Nicole, do you have anything to add with that? Because adults is something that you're passionate about. Anything to kind of add to Devon's, or questions about that with Devon that you
Yeah,
have?
I would love your perspective on adults with autism in the workplace. And what would be your advice to train individuals like yourself to be able to do the type of work that you do? Like what helped you to learn what you do now?
All right, so I've had plenty of jobs in my life, and I'd say pretty much all of them except for this one, I've had assistance with it. I think the first job I had was at the YMCA for 3 years. Um, the only reason I wasn't there for that long was the people at DVR, the person I was with, they weren't doing really great with the communication. I was apparently not doing things right. So it was a lack of communication. Um, then what was after that? I think then festival was next. Um, DVR as well. Of course, that's for somebody different.
Mhm.
So I didn't make that mistake again. And I'd say it went better.
What did they
That's good.
Basically telling me if I needed to work on something, or how I can improve on it. And even when a DVR was no longer there to help me, the staff there were, or the higher ups were really good at helping me through that. They did a really good job with that. Like I also remember I used to work at a ranch that a cousin of mine used to work at. My therapist at the time um was with me when I was doing that job.
What did you do?
Um, Cleaned out the chicken coop, I think, and then fed, gave water, and cleans the horses. I think that's about it.
Okay. So you've had a whole bunch of different things and areas. That's how cool is that?
I
Life
also
experiences.
did an internship a few times with DVR or career coaches, I think it is.
Okay,
One was photo photography, another one was game coding.
cool. That, I mean, that's awesome. And you're only 21.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of different stuff for sure. How cool is that? Um, I have a question and I'm just curious. This is one of the conversations we've had in the past, and I love this conversation because there's just, you talk to one adult or one autistic adult and you've talked to one autistic adult, right? So we've had this conversation that there's different opinions about everything. So, right? And I just think this is a fascinating topic. So one of the big topics that is like a big controversial
I think I
topic,
know what you're talking about already.
yes, we did, is the puzzle piece and the infinity and the
Yeah.
acceptance versus I love this
Part
topic
part of
because
me just died. As that just got mentioned. Part of me just died.
well, you got pretty heated about this, but this is a really split topic, and I just think it's important because there's a lot of argument about like the puzzle piece, what that means, the infinity, what that means, and like where it came from. So I would love to hear from your perspective, right? One person of what the puzzle piece means to you. Do you like it? Do you not like it? Do you like the infinity? Do you not? What do you have to say about that?
All right, even though I suck at puzzles in general, I think I really do. Unless if it's a decent sized puzzle, I can't do like the tiny little ones or ones with like
I can't
thousands.
either.
Um, I think the puzzle piece is my go-to because that's what it was when I was younger,
Yep.
and growing older, I think it still holds up with the saying. And then I think it was a year or two ago um they started doing the how the puzzle piece is offensive thing, and how they suggested the infinity sign for autism. And I was like, no, just no.
So when they say, I don't know really who they is, I'm just gonna use they as,
Yeah, just a
um,
bunch of people.
yeah, just a bunch of people, and they say, you know, the puzzle piece is to fix you, or I'm not even really sure all the different things, but it's like you're, I don't know. That's what I think I hear is like you're a puzzle, like you need to be fixed, right? I think that that's the big
Like
kind of argument.
building the it's like how we build up the clients that we have through ABA is kind of like a puzzle a bit, where you would have to, or maybe even a Lego, where you have to put each piece in at a time, and it takes time to build that puzzle over time. And I think that's what makes it work, because
I
it's like
like
a
that
metaphor
perspective.
for all the progress they have to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how we look at it, right? Like that's how it was looked at. That's kind of how I look at it too, is it's everybody's different, right? And it's just everybody's different. It doesn't mean they need to be fixed. It's just we're learning skills just like anyone else, right? It's just a little bit different, I think is what I'm hearing you say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. So you're a adult person that likes the puzzle piece, wants to keep the puzzle piece.
Yes, wants to keep the puzzle piece, does not like the infinity sign whatsoever.
So why don't you like the infinity sign? And what is the infinity sign supposed to mean? Do you know?
No, not really. That's part of the reason I don't like it. It doesn't match at all with what autism is at all. Like, it's just like a sideways eight. That's what it is. Like, I don't get how it, and then they had some colors to it. It's like, how does that involve autism at all? I think the puzzle pieces work better with that.
Well, no, I think it's, yeah, I mean, Nicole, do you know what the infinity sign is supposed to mean or what that's, do you understand that?
Not really, other than maybe like unique, complete. I'm not really sure though.
Okay, I was just curious too. I could look it up again. I just know there's some strong opinions. It's always interesting to me when something changes or I think because they don't like, the fix it thing and, that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
that's part of the reason it is because it's like they claim that the puzzle piece is offensive. To me, it's not. I'm 21 and the puzzle piece for autism hasn't really offended me at all. So
okay, well, there you go, everybody. All of our audience. It's just an interesting perspective because I've had lots of conversations and I truly mean lots with lots of different people and there's just a lot of different opinions about that. And I think it's very interesting to talk to somebody that, Devon specifically, that has he's one person that has an opinion of like, this is what it means to me. And it actually gives me great comfort. And I believe in that. And this is kind of how I look at it. Right. So I just think that's cool to talk about that. I was just looking it up to see what it says.
and let's
Yeah.
let's see if it matches.
Yeah, I'm trying to see it's infinite meanings for
Probably
all.
won't change my mind, but let's see what it says.
Let's see. It says some people prefer the infinity symbol over other symbols because it conveys a message of hope and possibility for individuals with autism. Neurodiversity and an infinite possible variations within the autism spectrum. Something incapable of ending. That's what it says. Rainbow colored. It's a vast and complex spectrum that includes individuals with a wide range of strengths and challenges. That's what it says.
I just died again.
So I think that the downside to Infinity is it's just not as widely recognized. So if I were to put that out, because we've talked about doing different things, right? And it's just not as widely recognized either. I'm not against really either one, so to speak. We identify a little bit more with the puzzle piece. It's in our, I've got this in our
Yeah,
shirt
no,
that we had.
Yeah.
Yep, it's in our logo. So we've kept it that way. It's recognizable. But I always think it's very interesting to have these conversations and all of that. What do you think about acceptance versus awareness?
acceptance versus awareness. What do you mean by that?
So April is, autism. It used to be awareness month. Like, are you like just making autism, like just becoming aware of that, right?
Yeah.
Now that I think that this is kind of the puzzle versus the infinity of the acceptance. Now they're saying true acceptance. And some of that goes into, if I were to Google it, some of it where it goes into accepting, I don't know, Nicole, what's your thoughts on this? Like it's acceptance of like, everybody should be accepted.
Mm-hmm. Well, wasn't there something about like you light it up blue, but now they want to light it up red?
What'd you say?
Yeah.
There was something about like, because it used to be it used to be Autism Awareness Month, and you
Yep.
would light it up blue, right? Because of
Yeah.
the Autism Speaks movement.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I know blue is definitely one of the major autism colors. I remember a while back in 2015. Back then, I used to be a huge Skylanders fan, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but when it was Autism Awareness Month for their newest game that they did, because the game that had came out at the time, was Skylanders Superchargers, which
Okay.
basically Skylanders with cars, the most controversial game in the series. They repainted two of the vehicles that you can get in toy because the main gimmick of Skylanders was there was a portal, you put the toy
Yep.
on, and then the toy would come to life. And they made two variants of the for Autism Awareness Month.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I could probably pull it up.
That's interesting. My kids were really into Skylanders. We still have a gazillion of them because,
I still have my bin of them.
yeah, we have
I
all
have-
of them. Like, yeah, I didn't know about that though. I was looking that up too, and it says the same thing about acceptance. So neurodiversity and individual differences and continue to advance inclusivity and connectiveness throughout the community. That's what April, now it's acceptance month. So I think it's, again, for me, I have a different perspective, but it is about celebrating individuals and that they're, you know, everyone's accepted and include, and what am I trying to say? So I think it's, again, just it doesn't mean that the puzzle piece, I think from your perspective, doesn't mean that you're not included. It's just the way of definitions and how you look at those things. So were we
And
gonna
then,
say something?
and then if I can vanish
Mhm.
it on the screen, I found it. Yeah, these were
Oh, yeah.
I forgot they even did.
And they're blue, right?
I forgot they did the
Yep.
characters too, but yeah, the vehicles they're with are blue and the characters are blue.
What do you think
That's-
about this though, Deb? Because they want to do red instead of blue.
Ooh.
I can't wait to find out the reason why.
It has to do with the awareness versus acceptance.
Ah.
So they're saying to light it up red instead, because of this. So they say many autistics dislike using the color blue to represent autism because of what it traditionally symbolizes. The color blue is sometimes used to represent males and emphasizes the gender stereotypes associated with autism.
Oh.
Blue is also the color of disappointment and depression. On the other hand, red is the color of love, ambition, and respect. What do you think about that?
I say fooey. I say
Did you
fooey.
say fooey? Fooey.
That-
Well,
Yeah.
that is just ridiculous.
it's super interesting because you can make, regardless of what you believe or don't or accept or whatever, right? Is each color represents many different things. Red also can be anger and different things being hot.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah.
You know, so you could
It's like-
argue that point too.
You
Like-
could.
Like they're not wrong that like blue does mean like depression or sad, but there's also things that are happy that are also the color blue. You could also make that argument.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me because I think we can pick, you could say, like you just said, a little bit of whatever. When I think of blue too, I think of sky and outside and calmness, you know, that's for me, but that might mean something different for somebody else, you know? So it's just, again, perspective. I think it's great to talk about, because it just really applies to every single person. Oh, are you getting mad?
I showed him a picture. It's somebody holding up a sign that says red instead for autism acceptance with the infinity sign. So they kind of flipped it all
And it's
to
the
something different.
two things that I hate, and I don't care if people get upset. I'm used to making people upset. If I have an opinion, I don't care what you feel, I'm going to say it. I have made people mad before. I really don't care.
Well, it's a perspective. I think it's a good perspective because I've had, again, a lot of conversations written. We've posted things and people have commented or said different things that would be the opposite of what you're saying. And I think it's good to say, okay, opinions are okay. You know, perspectives are okay, but I think we need to listen to each other. And there's still a large percentage of people that really are comfortable with what you're saying. So it's again, I think it's good to just talk about it and know that, it's okay, right? No, but I think, again, you're not saying that come fix me, come do this, or come fix this person or whatever it is. I don't think that's what you're saying, right?
It's just people taking it too seriously without even asking the people who they say it offends or represents. They don't even ask. They just assume.
Oh, I love that. And that's why I was so excited to talk to you because again, different perspective, right? And even just saying what you said at the beginning of our conversation about calm and having patience and all of that. I think that is so, so important. And that really hits anybody, right? For at any time. If you're wanting to help somebody, let's just say in any situation, you're heightened, that person's going to get heightened, right? Even parenting for me, with my kids, if I get heightened, how do you think they're going to react? They're going to be right. I mean, I think that's just such a good lesson for all of us. Nicole, do you have anything else with any of the stuff that do you want to ask Devon?
I feel like we asked a lot. Is there anything that you want to share that we didn't ask?
I'm not sure at the moment. I'll keep it in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just looking through a couple of things to see if I missed anything that I wanted to ask. I guess one last question I think would be good for parents that are watching. Besides being calm, besides, making sure you're working together, if you're an ABA or what have you, what would you say to a family, a mom, a dad, a caregiver, whoever, right? And their kid they just realized or just got a diagnosis of autism. What would you say to them? I think that this is really important. What would you say?
I would say get ABA as soon as possible. So then there is a chance of them being viewed well in society, how they can have a job or they can have a relationship. I know someone that I've been friends with on the spectrum that really wants to have a relationship. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. There is a
Yeah.
date.
Yes, I'm actually going to ask you about that
Okay.
after.
Yeah, we have a dating. We're sharing that all over. We have that coming up in May, right, Nicole?
Yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the Inclusive
I
Bean, right?
participated in the last one.
That's amazing. So what I also wanted to know too is, but I mean, what would you say about to the parents, like from your perspective of those feelings? Maybe they're feeling some sort of way because their child just got diagnosed, and would you have anything to say about that to the parents about their child? So a feeling like what can you tell them to kind of comfort them or to say like there's hope or there's movement for it? Because I know that can be scary for some parents.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
As I said before, bring them into ABA. I would also say just because they have autism doesn't mean it's a bad thing. If you do things right, you could something really cool could happen that might change the world at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe they come up with a new invention, or maybe they created the next big 50 billion franchise or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's great. It's still your child, right? It's just the label I always say, and I say label loosely, but that's just helps to get support to be able to move forward. Your child is still your child's, right? Nothing changed as far as from the day before to the day that somebody was diagnosed with autism. It's a lot of hope actually. And that's my perspective. I have, some kids that need extra support as well. And it's just helps you to know what route to go. And ABA is most certainly it's a lot of hope I would say. And I think, Devon, thank you for joining us because it really shows how amazing autism is. It is a superpower. It is something that, like, you're amazing at everything that you do. You're calm. You have a different perspective than I do. You follow the rules. It's amazing because that's really great, for all of us, with those different things. You regulate, you talk to, you say what you need and how you move forward and what you need that moment. A lot of adults of all abilities don't do that. So I think there's a lot of great, like, that's what I guess I was trying to see what you had to say about that, is that you're still you, and it's really a great, there's just so much hope, right? I think is what I wanted to kind of see if you agreed with, and that it
Yeah.
doesn't change who that child is. Cause I know that could be scary, right? So anyway, is there anything else you want to end with or say to anyone?
One last thing I want to mention in the last question you said. One thing that parents should also do is help the child when it's needed, because depending on the child, they might feel useless in life, that they felt like they were a mistake. That's how I felt when I was younger. There were so many things that I wasn't able to do in life, and I felt like I was a burden to the world.
That's a
Just let
great
them know
perspective.
that they have a purpose in this life, even with the troubles they're having. With time and effort, they can really help the world in whatever way they're supposed to.
That's amazing. And that's great advice for sure. For all of us, to be honest with you, that just because there's different abilities, right? You still have, I like to call it superpowers, but I know that can annoy people sometimes, like my kids. There's a purpose for that, right? There's a
Right.
purpose, and you just need support and caring and a path. I think that's why you're so supportive of ABA, because it really helped you to build, and like you said, Legos. They're just different stepping stones and different ways to get there,
Yeah,
right?
that's that's why I like ABA more. Like, personally, for me, as someone who was actually a part of one of the things, like, I don't like the school disability system. I think they do a terrible job with ABA.
Yeah,
I know they're limited, but you could at least do something.
right. Yeah. Well, thank you, Devon. I mean, I always love talking to you. I just love to pick through your brain because it's just amazing to see that perspective. And so, yeah, thank you so much. Hopefully we can follow up, or there's something that if you ever want to come back and you're like, I have some things to say, I have a different perspective, or something came through that I would really like to talk about, we would always love to have you back.
I'll definitely come back if you invite me again.
Well, it's
Definitely
always open,
accept
right,
the
Nicole?
invitation.
Mhm. Always.
Always open. All right. Well, thank you guys. And have a great day, and we'll see everybody later.
All right.
Bye.
Have a good one, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Bye.